Hello. One of the most traumatic days of my life when my boss called me into his office and sat me down and he says, David, you're fired. You're fucking incompetent. Pick up your stuff and get the fuck out of here. Not a very thoughtful thing to say. Especially for a 20-year-old, straight out of college, first job, and only been there for less than 6 months. Who would know that traumatic day would stigmatize my entire life? All my close friends from college abandoned me because I wasn't worth their time. Future employers never gave me a chance because I had less than 1 year work experience. And I was scared. I was scared to go back to a job and have someone tell me I'm fucking incompetent, get fired, meet new friends, and end up losing them. It crushed my ego and went straight into depression. I would sleep all day and watch TV. One afternoon, I was watching TV and a Cialis commercial came on air. And I started crying because the guy looked so successful with his wrinkle-free khakis and his polo shirt, running down the beach. He had his life all together and he still could keep it up. And my parents knew I had a problem. And they said, David, whatever happened to you that day wasn't your fault. You gotta move on. You gotta find a job. I don't care what you do. Just do something other than sleep and cry during Cialis commercials. So one day, I got a job at a construction site, unloading trucks and unpacking boxes of computers for a new office building being built. It was humbling, working for minimum wage with a college degree, and degrading when you're working for John Spagnolia. John was this stocky, tough guy from Mineola, Long Island. He always wore short sleeve polo shirts and dress slacks, smoked Phillies blunts, and always carried a wooden baseball bat. The guy was no joke. He reminded me of Tony from The Sopranos. Because back then, The Sopranos were the shit back in early 2000. He was belittling and he cursed like a sailor. And all I did was just keep a low profile working in that hot-ass storage room, unpacking boxes. And one afternoon, he rolled up to me and said, what the fuck are you doing? What am I paying you for? This place is a shithole. And I felt that intensity in my body, the numbness and the pins and needles exploding through my veins, that same feeling I had when my boss sat me down and told me I'm fucking incompetent. And I walked off that construction site and went straight home. And my mom was standing at the door. He says, David, do you have something to tell me? I'm like, no. Why did you walk off the construction site? And I'm wondering, how did she find out? He said, John is looking for you. Fuck me. She said, John is worried. You walked away. You gotta go back to the construction site, Dave. John sounds like such a sweetheart. And I swallowed my pride and I went back to that construction site. And everyone on the site was egging me on. They said, yo, John was fucking pissed. Yo, John wants to go fuck you up. You better be prepared to be a paraplegic in heaven. I'm like, dude, not even a good morning? So I remember I sat down in John's office and he's pacing back and forth with his baseball bat. I started crying. And then he sat down next to me and he whispered in my ear, Dave, I don't mind if you walk out early. You gotta let me know, okay? Now get back to fucking work. For some twisted reason, I had a new respect for John until he started cursing me out. And I was like, John, I want to quit because I have a college degree and I'm better than this. And he gave me a frazzled look and he said, Dave, you got to tell me these things. I can't assume how you're feeling. I'm like, wow. And I said, well, John, I want to work with computers. And he said, okay, you want to work with computers? I got an assignment for you. And I was really excited. And he says, my computer monitor is broken. And he took his wooden baseball bat and he beat the shit out of it. and he pointed that bat at my head, and he said, "You're lucky it wasn't your life." So every day he would break his computer monitor, and it would carry these like 45-pound monitors and replace it. And I got so fed up that the next time he broke his monitor, I actually plugged it back into the wall. And he was impressed because I had potential. And he got me a job doing spreadsheets. And after 1 year at the job, he fired me. And he says, "Dave, not because you're incompetent, you're better than this." And after I got fired, I went out and bought a box of Phillies, and the Louis Vuitton Sports Authority was initials engraved on it. And I pointed the bat at him and said, "You're lucky it's not your fucking head." And he smiled and we hugged. Although it was a toxic and unprofessional environment, John taught me to be resilient as well as direct. And he made me the success I am today. Thank you, John.